If there is an inverse miracle in the American tourism industry, it is happening right now. In the peak season, when Times Square should be lit up all night, when the Grand Canyon should be packed with people taking photos, there, only the sound of the wind howling through the empty streets remains, as if it were a nightmare in broad daylight. While you're watching this video, the most famous tourist cities in America are gradually turning into ghost towns. Hotels are vacant, the restaurant is closed, and the people who once lived by welcoming smiles to guests now live on the last remaining subsidies they have. What is really happening? Why are icons like Las Vegas, Disney World, New York City, or Yellowstone National Park, once the dreams of the entire world, now being turned away from? From the dazzling lights of Times Square to the misty forests of Seattle, something is rotting from within. In this video, you will join me in exploring 10 tourist destinations that once embodied the American dream. Places that were once bustling and full of opportunities, but have now become quiet, desolate, and directionless. And at the end of the journey, there will be a name that you won't believe. A place that seemed eternal with time, now also facing the brink of collapse. Let's get started. Never in my 30 years of driving a taxi here have I seen Vegas so sad, said a driver who once had laughter as his companion, now only the sound of an old radio amidst the empty streets. In Las Vegas, once bustling with tourists from all over the world, now there are silent casinos, long rows of empty seats in performances, and shuttles lined up with no one to board. In just 1 month, the number of international visitors to Vegas decreased by 8% to 12%. A seemingly small number, but it leads to losses of billions of dollars each quarter, from airfare, restaurants, hotels, to even entertainment shows. Vegas is not cracking due to a lack of lights. It is falling silent due to the lack of people, and those who live by the breath of tourism, from Uber drivers to housekeeping staff, from hotel chefs to street performers, are falling into a state of emptiness. Struggling every day, but for what? If you or your loved ones are living off the tourism service industry in Vegas, try to find more support information from the Benefits Vegas page, a place that provides information on job subsidies and free skill training. Do you remember when Las Vegas was a place where families eagerly welcomed the new year? Lovers kissed under the fireworks and friends gathered after years apart. Now, sometimes just walking a few blocks, you might encounter cold, dark corners where people huddle in the shimmering light of indifferent towers. Has the glow of glory concealed the cracks? Or have we forgotten this city at some point? Have you ever been to Las Vegas? Compared to what you've seen before, what do you think is really changing here? But if even Las Vegas, once a symbol of excitement and dreams, is falling silent, what about places that were once family paradises like Disney World, Florida, the place of smiles? What is it suffering from now? Don't leave. The next part will shock you. Florida. Once the dream destination for millions of families each holiday, where the sun-drenched beaches and laughter-filled parks. Now, it is devoid of those who once saw it as a place to escape from reality. A person who has worked in the service industry in Orlando for 20 years shared, "I have never seen Disney so sad. No more children's laughter, no more lines of people waiting, just the employees standing silently behind the counter, waiting for something that will not come." Just Canada alone has seen a drop of more than 3.3 million tourists each year, causing Florida to lose over 600 million USD. The numbers are not just money, they represent every meal cut short, every dream postponed, every hotel employee handed an indefinite leave notice. In Miami, once the winter retirement capital for millions of Canadians, hundreds of Airbnb units have remained vacant for months, despite prices being cut nearly in half. A homeowner who used to make a living from short-term rentals confided, "I used to have 90% occupancy. Now, even 9% is a stroke of luck. Now, 9% is also a stroke of luck." If you are a small inn or Airbnb owner facing difficulties in Florida, please refer to the support information from the local government at floridahousing.org, where there are financial counseling and assistance programs. Meanwhile, in Orlando, the situation is no better. Canadian travel agents collectively cut Disney and Universal tours by 60% in just the first 2 months of 2025. A middle-class family who had planned to take their 2 children to Disney World had to cancel due to the high ticket prices. They chose a picnic close to home instead and consoled themselves with, "At least we have time together." Florida doesn't seem to be lost due to a storm, but because of the silent tides that carry away trust and vibrancy. And when even children no longer dream of Disney World, is there still room for dreams in America's future? Have you or your relatives ever been to Florida? Do your feelings compared to now still remain the same as before? Please share your feelings in the comments below. Even if it's brief, who knows, it might connect many people during this difficult time. Florida is desolate. But what is happening in San Francisco, once a symbol of technology and the California dream, is even more alarming. Stay tuned, because the next part will make you question your own future. Not long ago, California was the dream destination for every traveler. A place where you could skateboard by Venice Beach in the morning, wander across the Golden Gate Bridge in the evening, and end the day with a dazzling night in Hollywood. But nowadays, that image is like an old, forgotten postcard. Have you ever been to San Francisco? Does your experience match the current picture? According to a report from the California Tourism Board, bookings for tours to San Francisco and Los Angeles have dropped by more than 20% in just 1 year. A tour guide who once spoke French like honey now has to make a living delivering food by bicycle on the very streets where he used to narrate history to European tourists. San Francisco is no longer the city of freedom and creativity, but rather a place where you are warned to be careful if you plan to go out after 6 p.m. The once bustling shopping districts have gradually become deserted. Hotels are offering deep discounts but still have no guests. Hollywood is still lit up, but who still goes to watch when the audience has turned to fear? And there's another fact that leaves many people speechless. More than 30% of retirees in California are considering leaving the state, seeking a new place to live, less expensive, with more healthcare support and kinder communities. If you are also considering relocating, there are websites like niche.com or bestplaces.net that can help you compare the quality of life between cities. The story of California right now makes many people wonder. When the very people who once dreamed of this place are now trying to leave, it's no longer just a travel story, but a quiet warning. If you once dreamed of spending your final years in California, do you still want that today? Some people believe this is just a temporary phase for San Francisco. Do you think the city can recover? Please comment below. And if you find this content resonates with your concerns, please follow us to gain a clearer understanding of what is truly happening in America. And if California, the capital of tourism, culture, and cinema, can fall into this situation, then what about the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C.? Let's explore in the next part. It's hard to believe that there are Sundays, right in the heart of the capital of the United States, amidst the historic monuments that once made the whole world admire. You have to stand alone in the National Mall without seeing a single tourist. No sound of cameras, no tour groups, just the cold wind blowing through the half-mast flags and the silent buildings as if forgotten. Washington, D.C., which once welcomed tens of millions of visitors each year, has now witnessed a decline of over 43% in international tourists over the past 5 years. According to data from Destination DC. The streets that were once bustling with tourists are now as silent as a forgotten museum, where the footsteps of the homeless echo more than laughter. A retired former congressional librarian shared that, "I used to take my grandson for walks around the Lincoln Memorial every weekend. Now I don't dare to go there anymore. Not because of danger, but because there is no one left there to see that I still exist. Not because of danger, but because there is no one left to see that I still exist." That statement echoed like a silent but heavy bell. DC was not only losing customers, but also losing its soul. That statement rang out like a silent but heavy bell. DC is not only losing visitors, but also losing its very soul. A city once symbolizing hope and connection has now become cold, where the elderly live in fear and the young are gradually leaving. Notably, dependence on the federal budget makes the local economy vulnerable. When the government shuts down, the entire city feels like it's been unplugged. Restaurants closed, hotels hung for rent signs, and the service industry was left in a prolonged silence. Have you ever been to Washington, D.C.? When was the last time you saw this place bustling? What do you think has caused the place that preserves the history and freedom of America to become a tourist trap? Please share your feelings. And if you live here, do you still recognize your own city? But the coldness of Washington is nothing compared to the next city. Once the art capital of America, now shrouded in haunting silence. Can you imagine a place that boasts one of the world's top natural wonders, yet is gradually becoming a land no one visits? That is the Grand Canyon, a natural gem that once attracted over 6 million visitors each year, now witnessing a severe decline of 15 to 20% in international tourists, according to a report by the National Park Service. And the repercussions of this silence are gradually seeping into every surrounding small town, especially Flagstaff. In Flagstaff, once known as the gateway to the Grand Canyon, the streets that were once bustling with cafes, inns and lodges friendly to Canadian tourists are now covered with "for rent" and huge discount signs. 1/3 of the town's tourism revenue has disappeared in just 3 years. The wooden houses by the pine forest, once frequented by retirees from Canada escaping the winter cold, are now closed, covered in moss and loneliness, just like the local residents who are waiting to see if anyone will come this winter. Mrs. Joanne, the owner of a small hostel that has been operating for 22 years, choked up as she shared, "I used to open the door every morning to the aroma of coffee and friendly greetings from foreign guests. Now I brew coffee for myself, sitting and waiting without anyone knocking on the door." The collapse did not come from a pandemic or natural disaster, but from the silent disruption in travel habits, rising airfare, changing entry regulations, and emerging markets attracting more tourists than the US. And perhaps that is the proof that even when nature does not change, the people and communities around it can still disappear. A wonder cannot save a livelihood when trust has been broken. If you or your loved ones still want to explore natural wonders like the Grand Canyon without worrying too much about costs, try using apps like Hopper or Travelzoo to hunt for special travel deals for retirees. Don't forget to sign up for email promotions. Many tour packages and hotels offer discounts of up to 60% if booked early. Have you ever been to the Grand Canyon? If you've ever stood on the edge of the canyon looking down at the millions-year-old layers of rock, can you imagine that this very place can no longer support even a town? But if you think that nature can't even keep people, just wait and see what's happening in the national parks that were once symbols of the entire United States. Even in their dreams, many people could not imagine the scene of Yellowstone, once welcoming thousands of international visitors each day, now so quiet that you can hear the wind whistling through the crevices, like a sad song without an audience. A veteran tour guide in Wyoming shared, "For the whole month, I've only been booked for 3 trips. Previously, I had to turn down some because I was overwhelmed." The parks that were once the backbone of American tourism, Grand Canyon, Zion, Yosemite, now only have a few scattered groups of local visitors strolling, mostly elderly people walking slowly as they reminisce about the bus rides filled with laughter from years past. International visitors to national parks have reached their lowest level in 20 years, according to a report by the National Park Service. But the bigger question is, what will happen if even the natural wonders, once the money printers of America, are forgotten? Perhaps the issue is not just tourism, but the disconnection from nature, from the very memories that many of us once called the treasures of America. If you have ever dreamed of a national park adventure, now might be the best time to enjoy the tranquility. Apps like recreation.gov and AllTrails are offering free maps and easy routes for seniors, and especially no need to crowd. Do you think that America is gradually losing itself, starting with its most beautiful things like Yellowstone? But that's not all. Wait until the next section, where what was once a paradise at sea has now become something no one dares to mention. No more jazz music echoing in the streets of Chicago, no more children's cheers while visiting the Field Museum or Shedd Aquarium. And most frighteningly, there are no longer the bustling footsteps on the Magnificent Mile, once the vibrant heart of Illinois tourism. It's hard to believe. In just 2024, the number of European tourists coming to Chicago plummeted by 14 to 29%, according to data from the US Travel Association. The souvenir shops, art cafes, and small stages that once thrived on international visitors now only display temporarily closed signs plastered across their facades. A street saxophone artist shared, "I have played here for 15 years, and I have never seen such a quiet summer." He used to play every day to support his sick wife, but now he has to find a job cleaning a warehouse in the suburbs, a job that makes him feel like he's losing himself. Notably, the loss is not just in the numbers. It lies in the dazed eyes of small shop owners, university lecturers no longer having international students, and even the elderly residents who used to proudly tell their grandchildren, "I used to take the whole family for a walk along Lake Michigan every weekend." Illinois used to be a crossroads of culture, education, and art, a place where just stepping off the train, you could feel the breath of true America. But now, many are beginning to wonder, does this place still retain that soul? But now, many people are starting to doubt, does this place still retain that spirit? If you or your loved ones are living in Chicago and finding it difficult to access community activities, try visiting chicago.gov or Senior Services, where you can find a list of free events for seniors, including workshops, classes, and small concerts that help reconnect the community. Have you ever been to Chicago? If so, please share your most memorable experience there. And would you want to go back to that place again? Next, we will go to a state that was once praised as a symbol of the American dream, of the freedom that many people long for, but now it is facing an unprecedented crisis. Never before has Times Square been so silent like this. The electronic billboards still shine brightly, but under that light, there are no more laughter, no more international tourists in awe, no more life as before. New York, the heart of the American dream, is slowly retreating, like a Broadway stage curtain coming down too soon. In 2024, according to NYC Tourism, the city welcomed fewer than 50 million tourists, a decrease of over 20% from expectations, and nearly 30% lower than the peak in 2019. The frightening thing is that many hotels around Times Square have now become shelters for the homeless. It's not because New York doesn't want to recover, but because the prolonged upheavals have caused the flow of money and hope to dry up. A former guide at the Statue of Liberty recounted that she had to quit her job because there are almost no tours left. Her voice cracked as she said, "I used to bring thousands of people to the symbol of freedom. Now I feel abandoned myself." Broadway, where more than 97% of seats were filled every night, now faces a series of cancelled performances due to a lack of audience. Many veteran artists have turned to teaching dance or working part-time at restaurants because the stage can no longer sustain dreams. New York is always likened to the city that never sleeps. But with tens of thousands of elderly people living alone in apartments with exorbitant rents, no internet, and no family, New York has now become a place where sleep is never peaceful. Have you ever been to New York, looked up at the Statue of Liberty, and felt welcomed? If so, do you still believe in it, right now? If you are an elderly resident in NYC feeling isolated, visit nyc.gov/aging, where there are mental health services, community engagement, and food assistance for those aged 60 and above. In the next section, we will visit a place that was once considered the capital of technology, welcoming thousands of talented individuals, but now is shrouded in silence. Seattle, the jewel of the Northwest, was once a dream destination for millions of nature lovers. But now, bookings from Canada, Europe, and even neighboring states are alarmingly declining. In just the first quarter of 2025, bookings for tours to Olympic National Park dropped by more than 40%, according to data from the Washington Tourism Alliance. Many small tour companies have been forced to close or pivot, like the case of Marcus, a veteran guide. From leading guests through the forest to watch eagles, he has now turned to opening a stall selling organic food at the local market. He shared, "I still love the forest, but the forest can no longer sustain me." Seattle and the Northwest were once likened to the green lungs of America. But as the cost of living skyrockets, the weather becomes increasingly harsh, and tourism activities are affected by new regulations and a tightening mindset. Even the greenery has become subdued. Where once the sounds of birds and the footsteps of tourists echoed, now there is only the rustling of the wind, as if nature itself is sighing. If you live in the Northwest and are looking for free community activities for seniors, visit agingwashington.org to join gentle eco-tours, art classes, or outdoor relaxation programs, helping reconnect with nature and the community. Have you ever been to Seattle and secretly wished to return one day? Does that dream still remain the same? In the next part, we will visit a city that was once the entertainment and gambling paradise of America, a place that is now also casting a shadow over a cold and paradoxical reality. How would you feel stepping into Harvard without the eager line of tourists? When the red brick streets around Faneuil Hall become as quiet as an unvisited museum? Boston, a city once emblematic of America's history, academia, and culture, is witnessing a severe decline in tourism. According to the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism, in just the first 6 months of 2025, Boston lost over 700,000 international visitors, mainly from Asia and Europe, the steepest decline since 2001. Not only tourists, but even student exchange programs, scholars, and global academic conferences are being cancelled en masse. A lecturer in the historical tourism program at a Boston university shared that her contract was abruptly terminated due to lack of visitors. She sighed, "We are not just losing income, we are losing the opportunity to tell the stories that made America." Boston, once resonating with the bells of freedom and knowledge, now resembles a magnificent library without readers. If you are an elderly resident of Massachusetts, check out the free tours and the Rediscover Boston program specifically for seniors at boston.gov to reconnect with the heritage and preserve the irreplaceable values. And if even Boston, the keeper of intellect and history, is being crossed off the global travel map, what else do we have to proudly showcase to the world? Which state will be the next to sink into oblivion if this trend is not stopped soon? Please share in the comments below. From the casinos no longer shining with bright lights in Vegas, to the Broadway streets no longer echoing with music, this crisis is not just about the economy. It is a profound warning that without people, without memories, all symbols become empty. We used to proudly call these places the American dream. But today, even the brightest places are slowly fading away in silence, forgotten by the whole world and their own people. Are we forgetting that the places that once put America on the world map also need care, just like the people there? Have you ever set foot in these places? What makes you remember forever, or hesitate to return? Please share your thoughts in the comments, because sometimes a true story can move thousands of others. And if you believe that memories should not be forgotten, that America is not just buildings, but the people living within them, then subscribe to the channel to join us on the journey of recreating, connecting, and preserving the things that are gradually disappearing. This video is built on publicly available data, entirely reflective of society and humanitarian in nature, without attributing blame or attacking any organization, government, or individual. Thank you for watching until the end. See you in the next videos.